And what up everybody, it's Anime Junkie, and welcome to part 3 to What If Deku Was Iron Man, and now let's get to the intro.
I'm not the one you wanna fuck with. Late nights messing up my sleep, so I'm flustered. Taking out aggression with my pen because I trust it. Right in front of get myself a lamb color cuts for the game. Leave him hanging by his chain. Click bang, feeling rage, feeling fire in my brain, feeling sane. And it's slowly feeling flames will be fine from my brain. Bringing more, please, no glory.
Okay guys, last time we left off, Deku just finished All Might surgery and basically tells him that in the future that his dream is really unhealthy and it should be, instead of one symbol of peace, there should be multiple symbols of peace and like pillars of peace or pillars of justice. And he basically tells him there should be a team of really talented and really strong individuals that are young and could be the future's potential symbols of justice. And he basically tells them that team should be named like the Avengers, and he basically takes this to heart and basically says he will talk to the hero agency or the hero government about this idea, and they'll probably approve it because they are going to approve it, and they're going to name it the Avengers. And then All Might asks him, do you have any suggestions for them? He's like, yes, I have been thinking of this for a while, and my suggestion is Katsuki Bakugo, which has an explosion quirk. He is really strong and he's my childhood friend and I see a lot of potential in him. And there's also Tenya Ida, who's the younger brother of Ingenium, and he's also has a lot of potential in him. And Chodo Todoroki, he also has potential in him because he has fire and ice quirks combined together, so he has a lot of potential, and he's Endeavor's son. And who else? Mirio Togura, because he is considered the closest person to be number one, even with the pros. So he's definitely on the team. And me. There might be others in the future, but these are the only 5 people that I think should be in the team right now. And if I come across any other talented individuals, I'll let you know, All Might. And if you do too, let me know, and I'll basically discuss with them and find out if they're a right person or don't basically destroy the balance in the team, because to have a strong team you need teamwork, and if there's not any balance in the team, it's not going to work out properly. So All Might basically said, so are you going to be the leader? It's like, no way, no, I'm probably going to be the strategist or something like that, but not the leader. I'm not the leader type, and there's probably going to be someone else that is going to be the leader. So All Might's like, yeah, okay, and I'll think about this and I'll let the agency know about this idea that you have, and I also agree with it, so they'll probably agree with it too. So thanks again for my surgery and healing my wound, and I'll be leaving. And All Might leaves. A few days later, like, it's normal, everything is normal, and he basically goes out for his vigilante days again when he's working as a vigilante. And he goes out there and he runs into a superhero or a pro hero called Captain America, and he has this iconic shield. Everybody recognizes him because of his iconic shield, and Deku's also been following up on him because he's really interested in his shield, because whenever he actually runs into the guy, he always basically sees his shield in top condition, and he basically thinks it's like maybe he takes care of it a lot, or maybe it's made out of mysterious metal that I don't really know of. So then he basically sees Captain America fighting this villain, and he's like, okay, I better help him. And he goes up there, he's like, hey Captain America. He's like, oh, Iron Man, or should I say Tony Stark. He's like, what are you doing here? I'm here to help you. And they basically attack the villain, they take down the villain, and then after that, Tony Stark or Iron Man basically goes up to Captain America and asks him, I always wondered about your shield. Is it like, do you keep a good care of it, or is it just really strong? He's like, oh yeah, it is really strong. It's made out of this really mysterious metal that I've never heard of, or the person who actually created it or made it for me doesn't even know if it exists on Earth. He actually found it as a meteor coming from the sky to him in his backyard. So he's like, he has no idea what metal this is and where it came from. So then he's like, oh, can I look at that? And he basically scans the shield, and Jarvis basically tells him this metal doesn't exist on Earth. It probably exists somewhere in space. So he's like, maybe, wait a minute, this metal's properties, they're amazing. This is exactly the metal that I need to make my nanotechnology. And he's like, are you sure? It's like, yeah, I can't give you the shield or anything. No, I won't take your shield. I just wanted to scan it so I can find other metals like this. So they say their goodbyes. Deku goes home and wants to actually study on the metal. So he basically sends out a group of robots, or a team of robots, to space to actually find and scan the universe to find this metal. And he does that. He sends it off immediately. He also sends a message to the government and the Air Force that he's launching a search mission to space, so don't worry about anything going up into that space or atmosphere or anything, because that's just me. So they were like, okay, that's probably like the Stark Industries rockets, so don't worry about it, don't shoot them down. And he also tells that stuff. And then he basically, a few days later, they still haven't found anything. They're still in space. They're still looking for it. And they're powered by the nuclear reactor, or the arc reactor that Deku made. And they still haven't found anything. And they're still looking and looking. And this is when he realizes that the lithium, or the nuclear reactor in his chest, is actually poisoning, or making his blood acidic or something like that. So he basically tests it every single moment, and now he's like, okay, I need to find a new element that can actually replace this nuclear reactor. And he basically does the same thing in Iron Man 2, which Tony Stark did, and he creates the new element. He succeeds, and he basically puts it in and saves his life. It completely cures him. And he also does a surgery to remove all the metal bits inside of his chest. So he completely removes it, but he keeps the nuclear reactor in his chest because he wants to keep it there, because he basically says, okay, if it's in my chest and it powers my suit, it's technically a quirk, so I'd rather have a quirk. And he just keeps it there because he wants to, like, okay, this is me. Nobody else can use my suit instead of me if they don't have like a nuclear reactor in their chest or something. So it's kind of like my quirk, and I kind of like it. So another week later, they do find the metal in space. He does get a notification that they found a direct copy of the metal that exists in the shield of Captain America, and they found it in space. So they're like, okay, bring it in. We have to scan it and make the suit out of it. And yeah, they're starting to bring it in, and then he gets the news that Captain America was just killed in a hero fight, and now that his shield will basically be taken away into like this memorial or something. And then Tony Stark's like, no, that's not right. That shield needs to go to the next generation. Or when he knows that Captain America actually has a son called Steve Rogers. I don't know if Steve Rogers was actually Captain America's name. I forgot what his name was, but let's just call him Steve Rogers. And he's like, okay, that shield needs to go to Steve Rogers because that was his father's, and he's probably want to be a hero too. So he basically goes there, confiscates the shield from the people or the government. Somehow he does it because he's like the richest man on earth, so he does it. And then he basically goes to Steve Rogers' house, gives him his shield, and basically tells him, you need to become a good hero like your father. And some people in the comments below told me that the Captain America idea was really good, and they told me that he should have like a quirk called Boomerang or something, like where he can throw it and the shield can come back. Something like how Thor throws his hammer and it can come back whenever he calls it. So let's just call it Retrieve or something. Basically, he can mark his any objects or anything, and whenever he throws them, they can come flying back to him or something like that. So yeah, he can basically attract two places together by placing two marks. So he can basically put an attraction mark on something and a push mark on something, and those two marks will basically collide together, and whatever those marks are on whatever object, they will collide together just like normal. So he basically puts a attraction mark on his chest or arm, and then he puts another different mark on the shield, and whenever he throws it, the shield comes back to him like a boomerang. So Tony Stark actually sees something in this kid, and he's like, hey, what did your father teach you? And did he teach you how to fight or something? It's like, he taught me how to use a shield and all this martial arts. And he said, this kid has a lot of potential, even though his quirk isn't that useful. But with One For All, he does have potential, and he could be Avenger class material. And he's like, hey, Steve, can I have your number or something? And he's like, sure, okay. And he gives him his number, and I'll contact you when I need you, okay? I'll contact you a place to meet up, and you'll basically arrive there. And he doesn't want to tell him that he wants to give all, or he wants to make him the next successor of One For All, because he doesn't really know if All Might's gonna approve. So he just wants to ask All Might right now, and then when he gets his approval, then he's gonna tell him to meet him on the beach, and then is where he's gonna basically train with All Might and learn how to use his quirk. Now, I know a lot of people wanted Kirishima to have the quirk, but I didn't really think of it. I mean, Kirishima is strong on his own, and in the manga, he's pretty strong too. And I mean, in the manga, they haven't even finished their first year of UA, and they still have a lot of way to grow. And I think Kirishima is going to be stronger and stronger, and maybe in the future he might make it into Avengers. So he basically tells All Might the next day, he's like, I think I found a good successor for your quirk. And then he basically introduces Steve Rogers to All Might, and All Might's like, this kid's impressive and I will accept him as my successor. And Steve Rogers does get One For All, and he accepts it, and he starts training with All Might for a while now. And let's say they're 15 now, and basically Deku has already completed nanotechnology. He's completed his nanotechnology suit. He's pretty amazing. He's also added it to his core or whatever, and he basically has to tap it like 2 times, and then his suit comes onto him again, and it's pretty amazing. Overpowered as F, but who cares? And then All Might was basically the supervisor of the entire Avengers, because All Might is the person that every single person in the Avengers are striving to become stronger than him. So it's basically good enough for All Might to be their teacher or whatever, to teach them, because they'll find out how All Might strong is, and they'll find out if they're stronger than him one day or something like that. But All Might is going to be their supervisor, and so they're 15 right now, and all the candidates for Avengers or the team Avengers, they already know they're a part of this new program or Avengers, and they haven't met up yet. Deku and Bakugo have met up with and talked about this Avengers thing, and they have, but the others like Shoto, Todoroki, they haven't actually gone up to any single one of them. And and Ida and Bakugo and Tony, they've talked about it, because Tony knows Ida as a best friend, and Tony also knows Baku as a best friend. So they basically make this like 3-man circle thing, and they become friends. But Shoto basically stays away from everyone. Mirio does his own thing with Nirai, and who else was it? Oh, and Steve, he also basically joins in with Bakugo and Ida and Tony, because Tony basically knows him, and they're basically friends by now, and they basically hang out, and they're all trying for the entrance exam, because Ida, he doesn't really want to go through a recommendation because of his family, so he wants to go through the entrance exam. Steve doesn't really have a father to give him a recommendation anymore. That's pretty sad, but it is true. So he goes through the entrance exam, and Tony, he can go through a recommendation because he's the owner of Stark Corporations. So he can, but he also wants to go to the recommendation or the test. And Bakugo, of course, he doesn't really come from a really heroic family or anything, so he has to go through the test. But Shoto Todoroki is the person who's gonna go through the recommendation. So yeah. Oh, and guys, tell me in the comments below which female member from My Hero Academia, I don't really care which one, but tell me which member should be in the Avengers team, because I feel like there should be a female in there, at least one. So yeah, should it be Suye, or should it be Uraka, or should it be Jiro, Momo? I think Momo is a good candidate. I think Momo is good, but who should it be? Invisible Girl, like being a Black Widow, because she's like all sneaky and stuff, and nobody can actually see her, so she's good with like spying missions and stuff like that. So maybe her, or maybe should I include a new character which has like, who represents Black Widow in the Avengers or something like that. Or maybe she works for like a government agency, she has a really strong quirk, so the government wants to take care of her and not make her into a villain. Or maybe Toga in this timeline doesn't really become a villain and joins the Avengers or something, or goes to UA or something. I don't know, but tell me in the comments below which female, or maybe 2 female or 3 female, I don't really care how many females, but at least 1 female to go in Avengers. And that's it, guys. This part is done. I just wanted to explain a lot of stuff and introduce Captain America and his son Steve Rogers, and getting him the quirk One For All. That's all I wanted to do, and the introduction of a new material that Deku uses and create nanotechnology. He also upgrades the regeneration therapy with nanotechnology to basically have a longer effect, and if nanotechnology would be inside of the people that have got that surgery, and it will basically heal them whenever they're in danger. But yeah, that is it for this part. I will do a part tomorrow. I don't know if I will do a part tomorrow, but because I have to go to school tomorrow. And yeah, make sure to like, because it really does help the channel, and also subscribe if you're not part of this junkie family. I'm never gonna say that again. Anyways, so make sure to like, subscribe, hit the bell icon, and as always, Anime Junkie out.